Okay, so a quick review here. This is the fried liver attack. This is very common. First, I should say, you should just play bishop c5 here if you want a cool, calm, collective game, but that's not where you came here for. So after knight f6, you're inviting the fried liver attack here because you're no longer guarding g5. Now, the best, most solid way is d5, and after this, we have this, and then we take the pawn. If you want to know why that is, I have the original video of how to defend the fried liver attack. I'll link it at the end of this video. It's a very good video. However, we don't want to play that. We want to play a counterattack. Now, what is that? The Traxler. It's bishop c5. Now, bishop c5 looks like a horrendous move, but it's actually not. White is slightly better here, but white can go wrong very quickly here. So let's say we have bishop takes. Okay, no problem. King f8. Now, white's concerned about us knocking the knight out of position. Let's say we have a random move. We can knock the knight out of position. After the knight moves, we take the bishop. Therefore, white's going to play bishop c5, and then we'll just play queen e8, get our queen into the game, manually castle. Our rook will be on an open file, and we have a decent game. So even if they take with the bishop, we have a decent game, and we can play from there. Now, let's say they take with the knight after bishop c5, which is going to be much more common because that's why they play the fried liver attack. They want to crash down with the knight, fork the queen, and rook. Well, this is the Traxler here. This is what we do. Well, bishop c5 is the start of the Traxler, but this is what we do from here. We play bishop takes f2. Okay. Now, granted, the king doesn't have to take. The king can play f1. But then we just play queen e7, and after the knight takes, we'll just play bishop b6, retreat the bishop, and the knight is stuck here. We have more development, and the king is a little loose. We could definitely squeeze out a victory here, but it depends on the players in the game. However, much more common, what you're going to see is after bishop f2 is king takes. Now, after the king takes, we follow up with knight takes e4. So it's bishop takes f2, and then knight takes e4. And now the king has like 3 legit squares to go to. The king's not going to come here because after knight d4, that's absolutely absurd. The king has to come to d3 and then loses the queen. So the king is not going to go to e2. They might, but they shouldn't. The best move is actually king e3. We'll get to that in a second. King f1, players, it's not good, and players aren't going to play that because after queen h4, threatening checkmate, and let's say the queen blocks, we have rook f8 pinning the knight, and that's very troublesome for the white player. So what's going to happen after knight e4? Most players are going to play king g1. Now, again, this is very easy to remember. We always play queen h4 no matter where the king goes. Well, except if the king goes to e2, which was horrendous. But the other squares, we go to queen h4, and with threatening checkmate, that's the point. Now, white should play g3 here, and we actually are supposed to take here. And now, after, let's say, this, then we have this, and we have a draw after rook f8. So worst comes to worst, if white plays perfectly there, it's a draw. So you always have insurance, the insurance of a draw on your side in case, things go wrong or you want to bail out. Now, let's say we have queen e2 stopping checkmate here. Well, now that exposes the queen. So now we have knight d4. And then after the best move, queen e3. Oh, that's not the best move. That's queen e3 is the best move, but that's d3. Then we just have knight takes c2, winning material back. And of course, we wouldn't go here because that's checkmate. So why wouldn't do that? So again, now let's look at if the king goes to the best square, which is e3. That's not intuitive at all. You're not going to see many players play king e3 because the king is stepping into the board, up the board, in the center. That's not where you want your king. And again, we're just going to play queen h4 here. And it's much easier, even though this is a pretty even game, it's much easier to play with the black pieces, I feel like, because the king is in the center of the board. If white makes a slight mistake, a slight misstep, this game is over. And black has a little wiggle room to make some errors here. Okay, in this position now, again, let's say we have rook f1 stopping checkmate. Well, now we just have d5, expanding in the center, attacking the bishop. And if the bishop takes here, we just have knight f6, attacking the bishop. And again, if the bishop takes here, we just take. If the knight takes, we have knight d5 check. And the king is really in trouble. And now you see that black is starting to get material back, and black is completely winning here. So there's a lot of ways white can go wrong, but let's just say for, the sake of the argument, white plays perfectly from here. After e3, we have queen h4. g3 is the best move. Again, we have knight takes g3, and after this, then we have queen d4. We can always take the bishop if we want, but after king f3, we can simply just castle here, get our rook out of harm's way, pin the knight, and no, if you're worried about the discovered checks, like let's say something like this or this, you can't, right? Because the knight's pinned. And even if it wasn't, we're attacking the discovered attacker. So after this, this would be another really tough position for white to play. So there it is, folks, the Traxler attack. This is an excellent counterattack to put your opponent in the hot seat and turn the tables on them. And you're going to learn a lot about the chess middle game by playing this and fooling around with this position, as there are a lot of tactics involved. Anyway, if you like this video, make sure you check out the first part of it over here, how to defend the fried liver attack. Now get out of here and go practice the Traxler.